I'll go back to games I've played, where I go through games I've played over the course of my life, assuming I remember them, of course. Anyway, I thought long and hard about what games I played during my childhood, because early childhood just seems like a massive blur up until the Nintendo 64 came out. But one thing I do remember was a slew of Disney NES games. Because, knowing my parents, they wanted to keep my game library kid-friendly at the time. And what better way to make a safe bet than get the video game versions of movies I was obsessed with at the time? Kicking off with Toy Story, the one that kick-started the CGI movie revolution, because my brain was blown at anything remotely 3D at the time. And looking back at it, oh my god, what the hell is that? Okay, the 90s CGI hasn't aged well, but this is the video game, and it's not quite as amazing as I remember it. We start the game with the wall text of the story being the game being of the story of the movie. I still remember not having good reading skills when playing this as a kid, so it was all kinda gobbledygook to me. Problem is, it was gobbledygook with instructions, as you would not be able to beat the level without doing a few objectives during it. See, now that I am an adult, I can read what it wants me to do. It wants me to free the army men for Andy's birthday party, like in the movie, so I do so. It's a platformer, yes, but it's not the best one I've played. Even as an adult now, I remember having so many frustrations seeing these stars and items and neat things up at the top of the shelves, but being unable to reach them. I still could not figure out how to do it as an adult. Mainly because hitbox detection is kind of off and I don't know when Woody's landing. Also, the dead silence when you die or complete a level is a bit awkward. I also give some kudos to them mixing the gameplay up and it just not being straight platforming levels. However, this also plays to the game's disadvantage, because in the second level you are immediately put on a time limit with a lot of conditions. You have to clear the way for a lot of toys and give them a little rumpy-pumpy on this balloon bumper. On my first try as an adult, I managed to beat it with 10 seconds to spare, but I know for a fact, between this game's rough platforming, unsure objectives, this would be a total pain to complete as a kid without the ability to read. However, after this, we get a nice easy platforming level of Woody vs. Buzz. Buzz being a total jerkbag show-off about how much faster he is than Woody. I also learned that you can absolutely abuse the pitfalls and invulnerability windows, as falling into a pitfall only damages you. Then we get a rather odd boss fight with Nightmare Buzz as he haunts Woody's dreams. Also, look out, here it comes!
Here it comes! Here it comes! Here it comes! Here it comes! Here it comes! Here it comes! Here it comes! Here it comes!
Did I win? Nope, guess not. Also, hit detection is weird, as Buzz only wants to get hit occasionally. And he wants to get hit, apparently.
Yes!
So I'm not sure if this is Woody's wet dream about doming Buzz with a whip, or him getting vengeance over him being the popular toy or not. The next level, though, is that split second of Woody running Buzz over with the RC in the movie, but dragged out to the biggest frustration I have ever had in a video game. You have 20 seconds before your battery drains his RC and to navigate a maze and slap Buzz with it and get a battery he will drop. Problem is, if you go too fast, you'll spin out and waste time. If you go too slow, you just die. This is the worst level in all of video games I have ever played. I remember it being the bane of my childhood existence. Getting to this level and wondering what was on the other side. This game was going pretty good, up until this level. It made it pretty garbage afterwards. But that's enough of Toy Story. This game is too jank for me to continue. So let's try a not jank game. Aladdin. Aladdin. Anyway, This was actually done by Capcom, the people who actually have a clue about how to make a video game. These were the guys who, and I checked, literally had the legendary Mega Man X come out a few months after this game, and it shows. They actually know how to make something mildly cinematic for the time, instead of just slapping you with a wall of text. The gameplay is very fluid and dynamic, having a nice swing and spring jump system that makes moving around very neat to do and satisfying to pull off. Assuming you don't try to course correct at the last second, which I do a lot because I am a paranoid Mario player with air control spaz. And you know what? Despite some frustrations with an older game like this, it actually felt fair enough to make me want to try. Especially because this was the only game out of the bunch that gave you passwords, which instantly would boot you to a level if you had a game over. This made it, compared to the other games at the time, kind of pleasant, because it felt like all the progress I'd make wasn't immediately being thrown out of the window at a game over, which, when you're younger as a kid, time moves slower. So if I invested 30 minutes of play into this game as a kid, it'd feel like a whole day's worth of time. And that's kind of a pretty crummy feeling. Aladdin let me slowly inch closer to the final stages and giving me plenty of cool sights along the way, and some strange ones that I know were filler levels, and are completely unrelated to the movie. This was an overall enjoyable experience, even if I did die a lot. And as a finale for this video, we have The Lion King. This one I don't remember too much, but I quickly discovered why. This game sucks. It didn't have that Capcom logo at the start like Aladdin. I don't think I actually owned this game as a kid, but I do remember trying to play it at a friend's house, and not enjoying it much either, because booting this game up as an adult, I already see so many issues. I am having a difficult time jumping on even the first enemy because my body gravitates towards a cliff to do a fancy animation instead of bouncing on the threat lizard. The game also had bad hitbox detection because I can bounce on these lizards, get hit, and still kill them. What the heck? Well, Simba's dead now. Scar won, everyone dies, GG Disney. It's still very loosely intertwined with the story overall, but we're not here for a story that we've seen approximately 152 times because we melted the VCR tape trying to rewatch it that many times. Mostly the Hakuna Matata part, we're here for gameplay. And what do they give us? A reboot with absolutely no charm of the original. I'm kidding. But seriously, the live action reboot sucked. Back to the game, I eventually managed to get to the next level. And turned out to be a nice, fun, colorful stage, but it was not pleasant at all. It turned into a platforming puzzle solver, and we got a lot of issues with that. I never would have figured out this roaring at monkeys thing as a kid. A, because I couldn't read, and B, because the roar is less of a roaring, more of a meow. So I literally would get stuck here being thrown around by monkeys or off cliffs, and it's not fun. The roar also doesn't even work half the time because apparently this bar needs to be fully charged to use it, and it charges very slowly for the consistency of which you need to meow at. I thought it did nothing in the first level when trying it out again because nothing happened, except occasionally. So since it was unreliable, I would just avoid using it. This game sucks, and I never want to touch it again. Probably why I barely remember it. It got repressed!
Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
Thankfully, the era of video game movie tie-ins are dying, and the programmers are able to thrive in the indie market. Sometimes. Every movie had to come out with a tie-in game to excite kids and pickpocket gullible parents. But consumers are getting smarter now thanks to the internet. Besides, Disney hates video games anyway. They got the LucasArts, the legendary game studio, in their lap. They shut it down. They had an awesome Toys to Life game. They shut it down. They had Club Penguin. They shut it down. They have a pandemic. So at Disney World, they open it up. Because they're greedy. Anyway, I'm gonna go watch Star Wars. Bye-bye.